All right, guys, Happy New Year. At the start of the year, we like doing kind of an Ask Me Anything just to give you an update on all the projects, on where we are on the channel, what's going on, what to expect for the coming year. So you definitely want to grab a drink and I'll get to as many questions as I possibly can. The way we do this is we have it live. This is pre-recorded with a bunch of your pre-recorded questions, but I am typing live in the side, so I will try to answer as many questions as I can as well, unless they're coming up in the video or have been in the video, and then I'll brush over those to answer all of the little side ones. So let's get into it. Here we go.
All right, we got a giraffe tool giveaway. That's going until January 31st. So get on the website. You can register. It's free to enter. If you do buy some merch off our website, any purchases from December 1st right until January 31st will get you extra entries into the draw. We got the pressure washer and the vacuum cleaner. So check out the products, register, buy your merch. January 31st is the last day to enter. Here we go.
Okay, so I want to start off by saying this has been an absolutely amazing year. It has been an extremely full year. There's a lot of stuff that you guys don't realize the amount of work that goes into each one of the videos, everything behind the scenes. I have never traveled so much in my life. I've gone to 11 countries this year and spent 180 hours sitting on a plane. And that's not getting to the airport or waiting to get on the plane. 32 different flights. And as you can imagine, that took a lot of my time away from the shop. Almost this summer, I was not able to get into the shop to do stuff, but I'm happy to say that we still got a pile of work done. And I'm very, very proud of everything that we've done, and I'm feeling very, very good about the shop. So I'm gonna give you a tour of all the projects. We'll tell you guys exactly what's going on. We'll start in the far corner of the shop. We've got the Bronco. The last video, we did a lot of the plumbing and the wiring on it. And I spent a week over the holidays uninterrupted to just finish up the wiring. So what I've done is I've now wired the USS Shift to the 6R80 and then incorporated that wiring harness nice and neat in with the Holley system and the Ford wiring system on its own. So basically rewired the entire truck. All that's left to do is test everything for one last thing and then loom everything and put the interior back in it again. So just have a radio for it now and putting speakers in the back and in the dash and in the doors. And it's just the radio to go back into it and the interior to go back in. So bolt the seats down, seat belts. And this one is already running and moving under its own power. So that video is coming up very, very shortly. The next video coming out on this one will be the finished last build on the Bronco. There's going to be lots of little small stuff that we have to deal with, a little leak here and there, vibration, whatever it is when we start driving it. But as far as YouTube is concerned, it's finished, and then you'll see us actually driving this somewhere as you see me driving the F350. That takes us to the C10. I was happy to do quite a bit of work on the C10. As you can see, we made the hood like a transport truck, and Brent from Half-Ass Customs called up and said, hey, we're in the area. Do you want to do something? I'm like, yeah, do you just want to hang out or do you just want to do something? He's like, let's do something. So we welded the top half to the bottom half, built the whole skeleton on the inside, and then put a linear actuator on it to tilt it with a button. So it does that on its own now. So this one is just a shade behind the Bronco. It runs and the transmission is all wired and ready to go. I need to put the painless in there to get the turn signals and lights, a little bit more stuff to the hood. I have to finish bracing the fender and then making it on a bit of an angle so when the hood comes down, it lines up with the body because we need these gaps to really look good. You know how I am. And then I do have to put like an inner fender on this, so I'm imagining how that's going to go, and that will probably also support this outside fender. We did push this fender out quite a bit. So that video is coming up. So this one is 2 videos away from being done, possibly 3. I have the air is down right now. It does go up about 8 inches. 10 inches maybe. And I have the hood and the roof from the Dodge, and I want to build steps that make it go look like it's lower. So side steps underneath the door that carry on to the back of the box. So I want to do that before that one's done. GTO, we didn't do a whole lot more to it this year other than drive it, but that does have a Sniper 2 on it now. And the main reason for that is that now the Holley incorporated the transmission controller on it as well. So this one, I need to finish wiring it, and then that's about it. As soon as these 3 little ones are tidied up, the Audi is going under the knife again as well, and it's getting a dry sump for it, and we're just redoing some of the air in the back so that the air evacuates better. So looking forward to that and to taking that to a bunch of races this year yet. It's a nice little getaway from the Edison stuff to just clear my head and have some fun with it, break some stuff, and just enjoy it. This car, we took it out on the track this past year, and it's an animal when it's working right, and we're slowly getting it dialed in. But this car is a riot, and I'm definitely not giving up on it. And we'll get more into the Edison and stuff at the end of the video, and what that means, because you guys are looking at me going, there's no way you can do all this, but just hold on. Silverado, this one is fairly close. It doesn't look like it. Soundproofing the cab, and then the cab is ready to go back on the engine. So we fired up the engine a bunch of times, and it's all these tiny little fittings that I was missing for the plumbing, for the cooling and the fuel in that, and the oil. It gets a little complicated because it's got the compressor on it and the P-pump, so buy a fitting, buy a hose, put it together, make it look nice. But this one's pretty close, and I'm hoping by the end of next week that this cab is back on here again and it drives out under its own power, and then I need to put the hybrid project in there and start fitting the Ram on top of the engine and the generator. So that brings me over to here. This is our 48 Fleetmaster convertible that got a Nissan Leaf drivetrain. And the reason that we haven't done a whole lot more for this is that now we're working with Edison, and there's nothing, even though we're building hybrids, there's nothing to say that we can't use the batteries and the power systems to make an all-electric vehicle. We just don't have the recharge on it. And the reason I'm not putting the generator in this is because it never has to go that far. This is just a going to town thing. We'll still incorporate the Leaf drivetrain, and that will all carry on as normal, but I think we can use our new battery packs and put them inside the housing of the Leaf battery, and we can extend our range probably 3 times more than what the original Leaf drivetrain had, and then we can put our own dash and that in there. I don't have to use all of the electronics from the Nissan Leaf. But I will get smarter and smarter with all of the stuff going on, and I think I can make this car even better than I originally planned. So that's the story on this one. Okay, so here we have a beautiful 6.2 LS, and this is going in the boat. The problem with the boat is that it works perfectly good as it is, because we threw that little engine in there that we got off of Marketplace, and I know that now is the right time to swap this in, because then the boat isn't down for the summer. It's just I have too much stuff on the go that this is a fun toy in a toy that already works. So until that engine blows up or something catastrophic happens to that, this is not going away. It's just being put on pause right now because we can throw the boat in the water and go tubing behind it and have fun with it right now as it is. There's a few more things I got to do to this setup to get it ready for the water and the plumbing in that. But for now, unfortunately, this is just going to sit here just for a little bit longer until you got to stick around to the end of the video to figure out what's happening there. But trust me, it's all good. Okay, this is where the Fargo's at. Unfortunately, the 408 block that we bought, the timing cover was completely rotten, which is why they parked it. Obviously ran out of coolant and just started putting water in there, and the block never froze, but the inside of the block was pretty rusty. On top of that, the crankshafts are different between all the different blocks, so I'm kind of stuck. I want a DT466 NGD in there, so that's a 1995 engine. Originally, I was okay with the engine that was in there and whatever, but I've done so much work to the truck, and I know that it's going to be a beautiful truck. I'm not going to compromise on the engine. I'm going to put in exactly what I want. So if you guys have a 1995, they call it a new generation diesel, which is the high mounted P7100 pump. So it's a mechanical pump with the aluminum valve cover and the serpentine belt. Hit me up, I want to buy that off of you. There's one in Quebec we might have to go get. There's one in Alberta, so shipping is too expensive. There's one in town, but he wants a bit too much for it, and it doesn't need to be rebuilt. I'd prefer a core so we can show the rebuild process, because I also bought a rebuild kit for it, and that was the whole point, to rebuild our own engine so it's brand new. So I don't really want a drop-in. I'm happy with a core or a wore-out one so that we can build it and make it absolutely perfect. But the Fargo build will continue, because that will probably be hauling our hybrid kit around. Nice to have that elevated up high so people can see it. That and the Land Cruiser, it's just nice out in the open, and it's such a beautiful truck, and it's the opposite of the hybrid. So that is who we are. I will always be a diesel. I'll always have smoke and stack and noise and vibration. It doesn't mean that I'm going all electric. I want a little bit of both, and it's nice to have the opposites. It's a 1965 truck with a beautiful stacks on it, just a beautiful sound. That DT466 is a beautiful engine. And going down the road in a rusty patina, and then showing off that brand new Dodge. Now that we will be driving the Dodge, it's just I have to bring it places to get tuned and tested and all of this before we get all the kinks out of it and it's able to drive everywhere on its own. So Fargo is happening. Everything's outside. I did everything that I wanted to outside. It's nice and cold now, so we've got the shop nice and warm. So waiting for the engine so I can rebuild the engine, polish the valve covers and the timing cover, put that 10-speed behind it, build the whole drivetrain inside the shop, and then it'll probably be springtime, and then we can throw it right back in outside again. So okay, the motorcycle. This was going to be our CafeRacer. I think it's the 79 500, and I bought this seat for it. It was just a cheapy Amazon, but I was really just after the brown leather. I really like that, and I wasn't really too thrilled with the plastic, so I had Mike from MTH Fabrication make me one out of steel. Now look at this beautiful thing. So this goes on here, and that is what's happening with the motorcycle. Now the motorcycle's running. I got to drop the forks in the front and then stick all the wiring and components underneath here so that it runs on its own. The issue was that that project didn't get very many views. It didn't pay for the project. We might do one more video on it, but then turn it into just a time lapse. Those seem to do very, very well. But the YouTube is still a business, and we have to bring in income. And unfortunately, we're not in the motorcycle crowd. You guys said that you guys aren't interested by not watching. So we have to kind of shove that one off to the back a little bit until it's finished. I want to get my license on the motorcycle, get it ready so that it's rideable, and then take my test in the motorcycle that I built. I did the same with the transport truck. I bought a truck before I had my license. I did the same with the race car. I had a race car before I got my race car license, and I also had 3 cars before I got my driver's license when I was 15. But once I have my license, I'm never going to drive the motorcycle again. I've had too many friends in accidents. I had the cousin pass away because of an accident. So I love the look of it. I love the idea of it, but more or less it's a showpiece in the back of the 55. That one will happen in the background, and then when it's finished, you'll see it all at once, but nothing's stopped or dead. We're just kind of slowly picking away at it, just like some of our other projects. All right, so the 55 that we built in California drove home. The problem with that is that it's such a fun truck to drive that it's always moving, and I haven't had much time to do anything to it. And why would I? Because the truck is perfectly running the way it is. If I can squeeze a week away, we're gonna pull the cab and just soundproof the cab, put some actual cab mounts in there and just refine it a little bit. But basically that's just a fun truck we pass around between us and rip around town as a daily commuter. It's parked inside the house garage for the winter. We don't drive a lot of them in the salt and in the snow. We have a winter beater for that, the 06, if you've seen that on the channel that we fixed up last year. That is our winter beater along with the 2012 Audi that we drive. So what we do is we need one or two modern vehicles, and then all of these other vehicles go under a historic insurance, and it's super cheap for the year. But you're only allowed to drive 10,000 kilometers a year. So what we do is we just have a lot of cars and then spread all those kilometers between all of them. So also outside is the K100. That one, we have a brand new interior for it from Daycab, and we'll be going over that and finally finishing off the inside of that. But again, that truck is ready to go and hauls some of the big stuff around. But that one I see being used much more once the Edison starts getting bigger. We'll be moving equipment and parts and finding a shop and whatever in that truck. And the Fargo will be very crucial to the growth of Edison and DeBoss as a whole. So the tank, unfortunately, that V6 is a little bit underpowered. It needs a couple weeks worth of work. The thing is, it's very big and awkward to move around. It's wide load permit wherever we go, so it's a giant pain. So we've done a little bit with parades and youth groups and church and stuff with it. We haven't done anything else. Like I was hoping to do off-road recovery with it. But as soon as it has anything to do with the tank, it's going to take all day, probably 2 or 3 days. If by the time I bring it back again and park it and clean it and move it, and if we get stuck or if we break something, it's a huge deal. So it's on the low boy outside, and we'll probably do something with it later on yet when we have more employees and more time. But right now, I get a lot more done in the same amount that I would on that in the same amount of video. So that's where the tank is. All right, so and some of you guys have noticed the W124 wagon out back. What's going on with that? What's going on with that? Well, that was one of our first builds on the channel way back in 2018, 2019, and I was not half as smart as I thought I was or as I am now. I did a lot of things wrong with that, and I built that to be more or less a daily for a customer, but it constantly overheated, leaked, didn't start, had lots of issues with it to the point where I asked if I could just buy it back from him because looking at it now, there's so much that I would want to do different that it's like constantly putting band-aids on something rather than doing it right. And that car deserves to be done right. The biggest mistake that I made was completely underestimating how much work and how much it was going to cost to do that project. And we put a turbo on it and we shouldn't have done that. That's a lot of heat underneath that hood and I can't get rid of the heat. So I think what we're gonna do is take it apart again, still keep it LS, maybe manual. The transmission, it's a 4060. I don't know if it's gonna hold up, but we can get really good horsepower out of an NA motor now and get rid of that turbo, get rid of the intercooler, put in a bigger radiator, and then have a good car. Brad's wagon, it's still under construction. Brad was going through a little bit of a turbulent time when he was building that, and that was his therapy. We do that as guys. We disappear into the shop, and there's something calming about picking up a wrench that just seems to fix things, you know, not just what you're working on, but fix things up here. Brad was able to get into a much better spot in his life, and that meant that is taking him away from the Rabbit or from the Volkswagen a little bit, and we're super thrilled from him. He's still plugging away. It's just a lot slower pace than it was before. On top of that, he is in a massive project that he is foreman of, and it's quite a distance away. So it's not that easy for him to go back and work on it. He really, and the time that he does have free available is dedicated to his family life, which is much more important. So again, it's not abandoned, it's not sold, it's still in the shop, it's still where it was. I think he's slowly picking away at it, and when we have a lot of progression on it, we'll give you an update video on that. But for now, just encourage Brad to have a happy life. We dragged him all the way to Africa, and that takes away from the time too, and that puts him behind at work when he gets back, all those great things. But it's not dead, definitely not dead, but definitely slowed down a little bit. All right, and the Mustang, the V10 Mustang. So what happened with that is Scott was actually in a pool in the spring. He was making good progress, and he was throwing water at splashing kids in the pool, and I think one of the kids came up out of the water and he just caught his arm and pulled all of his muscles off of his shoulder. So his arm was in a cast for almost 6 months, I think. It was 6 month recovery where they had to do surgery on him right away, attach all of his muscles again, and then he has a cast that he could slowly lift his arm up again, little by little. And he's back to work again now. He was a little bit camera shy because of that. It was kind of a little bit, it was a really stupid situation. We can talk about it now because he's fine again and he's working again. But what that means is he is really far behind in work. So the work keeps coming. He did as much as he can. Aaron is working there, not my Aaron. He's got an Aaron there. Managed to stay afloat and it's fine. It's all good. But the Mustang then took a little bit of a backseat again because the paying customers come first. So if you've had work done by Scott, I realized that it was a very difficult year for him. It sucked, it was painful, and the pain is one thing, but the pain of not being able to do something when you want to do it is almost just as bad. So encourage him on his The Real Northtown Machine on Instagram. Shoot him some messages and say, hey, glad you're feeling better, keep at her, and I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Again, project's not dead. I won't let him kill it because we put a lot of effort into that paint job and stuff too. It's just been a really busy year for me as well with all the traveling. I can't just go there and work on it with him or do it for him. So it will be back on the channel. It's just that I can't do anything about an injury. So. All right, the Woody Wagon. This we bought as a one owner, grandmother driven car, which is in fantastic shape. We spruced it up a little bit in the spring. We did new wood paneling on the side, which is a really nice sticker by Sticker It. We painted the panels, redid a bunch of stuff in the interior, got all the little things that were broken fixed, like doors and whatnot. But it is a perfectly good driving car as it is. The plan for that one is to put a Hemi in the back seat and make it rear-wheel drive while keeping the front engine in it and do a drag and drive with it. And we'd be the only legal car that we can disconnect the back, drive on the front engine, and then when we hit the track, we can disconnect the front engine and go into the back engine. But the K car is a perfectly good daily. Aaron drives it all summer, and until we have a bunch of the other projects done, we're not going to touch that car because it runs and drives fine. Now we also have the dually that we bought from Texas, which is the 05 LLY that needs head gaskets. That one's actually in a shop down the road. That cab is off of it right now, and that LLY engine was gonna go in it. We were gonna let Ontario Truck Rebuilds do it, but then they ended up getting busy. So that one is almost done, and that one will be for sale. We don't have any use for that dually. So if you want a very rust-free, beautifully clean, redone interior 05, which is still the best looking truck, hit us up, and that one is for sale. All right, so what projects did I finish this year? Well, it was the Land Rovers was a huge project, and it wasn't like a full build project, but it took a lot of time and effort on the whole team's part, probably more on their part than mine, to get and organize that entire trip. So I highly recommend still watching the African series where we went to South Africa, bought 2 Land Rover Defenders, drove them through 2 other countries where they broke down about a dozen times, fixed them by the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, in front of elephants, between lions. It was an excellent, fun series with a great group of guys. Then we shipped them to Halifax, Canada, which is all the way on the eastern side of Canada, and then drove them through Canada and brought them home. That project as a whole is done. Those vehicles are home again. They need a little bit of work to spruce them back up again. We'll be putting both for sale, and if one of them sells, we'll keep the other one and fix them up. I'm not partial as to which one that is. The black one that we named Barbie is a much better looking vehicle and has a beautiful interior in it, nice TD5. It was rebuilt. It doesn't leak. It needs to be gone over to just double check all of their work. That one's an 04, and we can sell that one in Canada. We cannot sell that one in the United States yet for another 4 years. The 99 we can sell in the United States. That's the first year that you can import those into. It might be the second year now. I think you can do 2000 because we just rolled into 25. But that project is done as it is for now. Both vehicles are drivable. We need to get them safetied here and insured. We're not driving them in the winter. They got a really good bath after the drive home from Halifax, and we'll just be driving them around and camping in them this summer. And then we're hoping to drive back to Halifax in one of them this coming fall, and do the camping trip that we were hoping to do with our families at that time. So those projects are done as well. Now the Ram, that was also a project that we finished. Now this is the Ram. but we did a full body job on that one. Ontario Truck Rebuilds did an amazing job painting that. And then we put the 2.8 Cummins in there that's hanging in the front, put the manual transmission behind it, and this truck was running and driving down the road. It was only doing that for a weekend though, because then we tore it all apart again to take it to the next step of the build, which was the hybrid kit. So if you're saying, what did you actually finish? I built an entire Dodge Ram, restored it, Cummins swapped it, tested it, and then tore it all apart again and rebuilt the axles on it to now accept electric axles. So it doesn't look like it's finished, but it was driving down the road, and it was driving down the road very, very well. Did, I think, 18 hours on the dyno, straight dyno pulls to get all of our information for our emission testing. Held together the entire time other than a boost tube coming off. We'll be going back on the road in another 6 months or so. We hope to have this all buttoned up and finished. And I'm going to invite my buddy Eric to come and talk about that project with us. He is actually the brains behind everything. Really excited to sit down and chat with him. All right, happy to introduce you guys to Eric, who is the co-founder of Edison Motors.
Good to see you, Rich.
Yeah, you too. Home for the holidays?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you're originally from Ontario?
Yeah, I'm from Ottawa, born and
Okay.
raised.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I'm loving life in BC. It's unbelievable.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, good news is you get to travel back and forth a bunch of stuff because you got to keep an eye on me, and I get to go out to BC and check out what you guys are doing. So it's been really, really good.
Anytime.
So, yeah, awesome. So we're gonna dive right into the questions. We're gonna have another video on the Edison channel. I think we'll record that tonight.
Yep.
And basically my role on the Edison team, as there's some questions about that, but you have to check out Edison's channel for that. If it's not live right now, it will be in another week or two.
Yep.
By the time Theron edits it. But we're going to get into the questions. So here we go.
What's the most challenging part of working with new EV tech?
Well, new EV tech is quite challenging to work with. I think the most challenging thing about the EV tech is how fast it's moving. Like, it's always changing. You know, we have to contend with hardware. That's a big thing, right? So like inverters, battery chemistries,
Yep.
right? That's a big one from this year. And just making sure that the software that we develop is kind of like universal. We could mix and match, play with different hardwares, because that's kind of the name of the game. You want to have something that's flexible, reliable, and if the technology improves, you're not like completely just unable to use the product that you work so hard on. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do, is get something universal, something that we can patch in. But yeah, it's amazing how little tiny piece of hardware can throw us for a loop sometimes.
This one's for Rich. When are you moving to BC? Is there a big Edison Motors manufacturing plant coming to Dunnville?
Yes, so that's two different questions that contradict each other.
Just a little bit.
I would never move to BC and have Edison come to Ontario. That seems good. So my entire family is here. My roots are here. My daughters are 10 and 11 years old. They've got all their friends here. And talking with Edison, we both see the benefits of having an Ontario hub. There's McMaster University right down the road, which is just spewing out engineering students. There's a pile of people here that wouldn't have to relocate if we had a factory close to here. And as much as I love BC, I love to visit too, and I'm sure that'll happen plenty.
Of course.
But I think I'm staying put here. That doesn't mean I'm staying put in this property necessarily. We have a plan in effect for the next, we're not sure what the next 1, 3, and 5 years looks like, and that might change, but we are staying in Ontario. We're close to the lakes for shipping. We're close to hubs. There's a lot of industry in Southern Ontario. And the majority of people are out in BC and in Ontario, so we might as well have two hubs here. You guys already sold one of the trucks that you're building to somebody in Ontario.
Yeah.
So if there's an issue, that would come here, and we're able to already service over this network. So yeah.
Well said.
Are hybrid diesel trucks the best balance of low emissions, high torque, and diesel reliability?
Well, we wouldn't be doing this and going through the pain in the ass it's been if it wasn't, right? So
Yes.
I'd say, yeah. So to answer your question, right, like the hybrid solution is the most efficient. And the reason for that is because you're utilizing the electric propulsion, the electric braking to get maximum efficiency while you're on the road, but you're using less diesel by reducing the size of the engine, which displacing already the cylinders means you're using less fuel. So like the math checks out, and we're obviously going to do a lot of emission testing here at McMaster's, funny enough, to prove that. Because that's what we want to do. We want to showcase the technology. We want to prove that it actually is fuel efficient, get those real numbers. And with that data, I mean, this will really showcase to the whole world that hybrid is the way to go. We like diesel, obviously, because diesel's awesome. And I think it's like a really, cheap, economical fuel. Like it's everywhere. And that's the goal, right? Use diesel. And I think it's interchangeable too, right? One day we might use a different fuel source, but now diesel's everywhere. Let's use that. Who doesn't like a diesel engine, right?
And on the emission side, there's a lot of things that you don't even realize. It's like we don't need to update the infrastructure at all. So if we needed to run copper lines from here to every road in Ontario, just to be able to charge fully electric vehicles, there's a giant emission factor in that as well. The construction equipment needed to bury the lines, the mining equipment to be able to mine all this copper out of the ground, turn it into wires. All of that is kind of this hidden thing in the EV that people don't talk about. With hybrid, the entire infrastructure is already here. We're just making it more fuel efficient than just straight diesel.
Yeah, and to like further add to that, we're really focusing on heavy duty trucks, right? And heavy applications where just that additional load makes it difficult to compare to just like an electric car, right? Like a passenger sedan. We're not doing that here. We're really focusing on a market that uses like tons and tons of diesel every day. Just to like move the needle on those vehicles, it makes a huge impact for their businesses, which ultimately this is what it is. We're building work trucks for working people. And those businesses all need to save a buck here and there, right? So that's the product.
Eric, how will the pickup be registered? Payload or tow rating?
It's a good question. I mean, the registration process really has to do with the original vehicle VIN and going through that. I'd say if we do change the characteristics of the vehicle, some jurisdictions might be different than others. I know in BC, you just classified it as an EV. For gross vehicle weight, I think that's actually subjective to the installer. Because I think if you do classify an EV, but anyway, Chase is more of an expert on that, so I'm thankful that he's on the team. He's just a wizard at that stuff. I'm more the electrical engineering and sort of administrative guy. But there is a process, of course. We did on our first prototype, Carl. We'll be able to do it on any pickup that we work with.
Rich, are you going to hire anyone to help with the hybrid builds?
Yes. So I have 6 months to figure out the next plan. We need to finish this RAM, and I want to finish this RAM. And like I was telling Eric today at supper, I will not sell a kit until this RAM is pulling a nice camper from here to BC, and I feel confident in the project as a whole. Now, this will be the first prototype. We're going to run into issues again, absolutely. But I need to be confident in this kit before I sell it to anybody else. I'm not going to put my name on it until I am proud of it. That being said, I can do that work with the team that we have now until about June. And then after June, July, we are looking to expand the shop. We're looking at locations to be able to start these kits, start rolling them out into more of a production style. And again, we've already got some contracts with some companies that we can't say anything yet, but same type of idea, build some trucks, get their feedback on it, get a few into the market, and then while we figure out a building and a way to train installers in that, the later half of this year, and then we can hire a slew of people then. Until I hire like 3 people, it really slows me down because even just one more person in the shop, I lose kind of my jive. This is the way I've been working for about 10 years. Every time I have somebody, like in construction, when you hire somebody, you can go 3 times as fast. When you hire somebody in the mechanic shop, you really only increase productivity like 20%, but you're paying for 100% of a person. So I would much rather work longer hours and take the full blame on anything that goes wrong and do it myself. I feel confident as soon as we have the parts and you guys send some engineers and stuff over, some of the mechanics that you guys are already working with to finish up the loose ends, we can get these trucks going. Yep. The Land Cruiser has to be done by June, July, and then yes, we'll be hiring a pile of people after that.
Eric, are you looking to automate any hybrid work? If so, I'd like to know how to quote for it.
Automation. Like in terms of automation, are you meaning, Aaron, like using robots in the operation, or are you kind of just, yeah? Oh boy, that's a scary word. I think, you know, when I envision a truck plant, I actually see a lot more humans and a lot more bodies to be bolting and riveting and even like hooking up harnesses in person, because the level of customization in each vehicle demands it. I don't think we're going to get anytime soon into a kind of production line where you have like these long assembly lines where a truck and chassis rolls through. It'll be more like bay built or maybe a quasi bay, and then going into like a very small production line. Because ultimately there's guys going to be there hooking things up. I think it's going to be very human driven. And every person that we throw on the problem, ideally they come up with great solutions. And you know, we just get more efficient with it. Because I still think, you know, building it by hand is a labor of love, and it's worth doing it.
I was thinking about it too. What can I do in the conversion kit? I'm thinking like a robot to sandblast and maybe paint the frames, and that's it. Shitty jobs that nobody else wants to do, but then put it in a bay, like bolt the wiring down, and not each truck will be exactly the same. Like this customer wants the batteries here, this customer wants the batteries down there. This is a service truck, this is a pickup truck, this is a toy, this is a utility vocational truck, right? So a lot of people involved, and we want to put as many people to work as we can.
Rich, what's your vision for Edison Motors after prototyping? Will you keep innovating?
Yeah, so if I'm doing a good job, which I hope I am, my future is going to be with Edison Motors. So I've been officially hired on. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
As the vice president of the pickup truck design, so the pickup truck design end of it. So I'm going to oversee all the pickup truck conversion kits. What that means is we will have a shop, and then I will actually be able to hire people, and that's not going to limit it to hybrid conversions or EV builds. That's going to expand to Boss Garage at the same time. So what we were thinking is we could have a fully just mechanic shop where pickup trucks are separate, then we're just building transport trucks. We can have trucks come in and we do normal pickup truck repairs. We fix emission systems, we do brakes, we replace transmissions, we whatever on one side. With the DEBOAT, I hope that you guys see the quality and the effort that I put into my own vehicles, and we were thinking of building like an EV pickup truck with a DEBOAT version of it, kind of like Shelby or AMG would do with Mercedes, where you pay extra for a tune that nobody else gets, for more power, with your name stitched into the seats, like a full redo of the vehicle, like a complete rebuild with your nameplate on the side of the vehicle, and then do like a one-off build. So if you have something specific, it's like, look, I have my grandfather's truck, it's a 1980 whatever, it's a very special truck to me. We're going to build that truck. We're going to make it 100% better for you with the hybrid kit, and then put the DEBOAT name on the Edison kit, so you've got that one-of-a-kind stamp with certification papers that this was hand-built by DeBoss Garage edition of an Edison truck. So, and none of this is in stone. These are just ideas that we're throwing out, but we will continue the YouTube channel. We will continue building cool vehicles, whether it be gas, diesel, or whatever other powertrain is out there. But we now have 22 vehicles, and it's like, how many more vehicles am I going to build? We really have like every type of vehicle that I could possibly want. So we'll continue the road trips. Those are a lot of fun, just to kind of sneak away and clear the head and whatever. But it will be, I'm hoping that the Edison is a long-lasting relationship that we can continue growing together.
Eric, roughly how soon will kits be available from Edison to swap our own vehicles? 1 year, 2 years?
Well, I mean, the quick answer is how long can how long does Rich need to basically get to a place where you're happy?
Yeah.
Because, I think saying 1 year is maybe a little bit, unrealistic, because it will take time to perfect. That being said, though, we want to get this kit out in the world and get it on the road. I think realistically, in 2 years' time, we'll have a great kick-ass product that we're ready to ship out in pallets. And the process of getting into people's hands is going to be varied, right? It could be it goes through an installer, right? We have a huge network now of people that want to become installers all over North America. So teaching them how to do it and getting the kit to them would probably be the best approach. And they will be the torture testers too, right? And then from there, that's when we say, okay, demand is this much. Let's make sure that we meet that demand. Let's ramp up production. But yeah, palletizing something in that would be nice to do in 2 years. 1 year would be nice, but I think that'll be more to a select group of crowds. These are potential fleet customers or installers.
So if you guys have been following along on the Ram build, currently the axles are done. We're doing finishing touches, seals, and little things. But a big hang up is waiting for parts that we are getting custom made for us. Things like the generator, like you see a generator behind us. That's actually just a 3D printed one, so I can start welding my engine and that under the hood, but I'm waiting for parts to arrive. And I knew that was going to happen. So what we did was we retrofitted existing axles with the electric motor in the middle. And that was just to figure out the process of, can we take existing axles and axle tubes and retrofit an electric drivetrain in the middle of that. Now, these single motors is not going to be the finishing product. This is just to get the wheel spinning. That's it. So while we are coming up with a cost analysis of what is the best way to do this and how much is it going to cost, we're ensuring the compatibility of all of the other components. So we need the engine, generator, the batteries, the BMS, the PDU, all of that needs to work as a kit as a whole just to make these axles spin. So while I'm building the kit, we're designing our own dual motor center section, which is the cat's ass. You guys aren't going to believe the numbers that these little things put out. But Dana already makes an electric version of the Dana S110. So the Ram is twofold: proving the concept of how we are going to adapt existing stock axle tubes to our electric motor, and then proving the rest of the kit. As soon as the kit is figured out, we can put stock Dana S110 axles underneath every 450 and 550 two-wheel drive Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, and GMC. So we'll get those trucks rolling out. These are going to be the vocational trucks that don't need breaknecking torque and whatever, because it's only one motor powering that 450, 550. That will get money flowing into the company. That will do a positive cash flow while we are designing and paying, which is not cheap, this dual motor setup, which will then trickle down into 3/4 and 1 ton pickup trucks after we already have a positive cash flow. So however quickly I can accomplish that, that's how quickly we are going to start rolling these vehicles out. If you have a 2-wheel drive 450 and 550, you will likely get called first to get your kit installed.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely wanting to make sure if you reserve, you're going to get first dibs. But that being said, yeah, doing the 2-wheel drive is just a no-brainer. Yeah. And you work super hard on making sure that the way that we actually go into production here is smart. It's just efficient and
safe too. We need to make sure that these axles don't fold or something stupid. And I'm confident in what we're doing. But if you're taking a stock axle that was originally meant for that truck, and you can pop your old existing hubs back on it again with your with your ABS sensors, your stock brakes, all of that, we're not changing anything. That's no different than you blowing up the rear axle in your truck and getting a new one put on it. So we don't have to worry about any safeties, inspections, DOT. We're changing anything. No, yet we are changing the engine and transmission, but as for brakes and safety of the original truck, we aren't changing anything. So that's the simplest way to get these kits out onto the road.
Rich, will you make a 1500 half-ton prototype?
We will. If it fits in the Land Cruiser, we can stick it in a half-ton. The only issue is we need to really make sure that the frame can handle the weight of the batteries. So that's my only concern. But if we can fit it in a Land Cruiser, we can fit it in a half-ton as well. So the thing is, we were originally really trying to go after the heavy-duty market, the 450s and 550s, because there are already electric half-ton trucks out there.
Yep. Yeah, ultimately the market's going to tell us, what they want to do, right? But just making a versatile kit is what we're trying to accomplish right now. It's so cool to see.
Eric, what's the most affordable conversion option you guys are making available? Would it be a rear-wheel drive, single EV axle, and a Volkswagen TDI generator?
Yeah, I'd say the cheapest kit would be one that doesn't even have a generator, right? I don't think it's going to be popular because we're talking about hybrids here. But bar none, if you just get like a battery kit and a single axle on the rear, it'll be like the best bang for your buck. That being said, you're not going to be able to do like many miles on it. So, what we're trying to accomplish here is a way for you to bolt on a generator either to a brand new, really nice engine that like we stand behind, like we know it inside and out, we know how to fix it. So this is why we're working with the Cummins engine here. We were definitely looking at a myriad of engines. You got so much experience in this. So it's amazing that you said the 2.8 was like the cat's ass, and look at what's behind us, right? So, I mean, we definitely listen to you. And I hope that, the people that are buying this kit will also appreciate all this hard work you put into the 2.8, making it work with their Jenny. That being said, if we do eventually end up, making a very reliable and robust software system where you could use your existing engine, that might be a way to reduce your costs. But to think of how much fuel you're going to save if you reduce your displacement by a half, right?
Yes,
It's unbelievable.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that would be kind of the cheapest, is being able to use the engine that we're working so hard to get at a really good price with, one single axle and 2 batteries, which provide such an oomph. It's unbelievable how much torque you're going to get.
Rich, will the axle housing require sleeves for different axle thicknesses?
Yeah, so the way we did it, I had it in mind as the only thing that you need to change is the top hat, I guess, that bolts right to our electric housing. So those you can spin up on any lathe, and basically it'll come with a small hole in it, and you just machine it out until it fits your size axle. So we can go from 2-inch to 4-inch and anything in between. So that was the only thing you have to change to adapt any other axle to our EV housing.
Eric, is an Edison conversion worth the cost for older vehicles, considering their depreciated value?
That seems like more of a financial, not an emotional decision. I mean, come on, like just think of all the beautiful old like square bodies out there that could be like revived, right? I mean, Chase and I, this is how we started our trucking business. We just love old trucks.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the cost. Actually, it is economical in my opinion. But it doesn't matter. Like, even if it isn't, it's a beautiful art to be able to restore these trucks. And you get so much out of them once they are hybrid. Like, they really are more powerful. It's a nice, quiet ride. You got a great engine, so I think it's quite reliable. That being said, conversions are an art form of their own, and there is justification, just like how we're building new semi-trucks from the ground up with our semi division. If there is enough demand, one day it might be worth it just to say, okay, we developed an amazing platform. It's so versatile. Let's go ahead and design our own commercial size truck. Our CMBSS and FMBSS rules will dictate, what kind of size vehicle we built. But that being said, let's go conversions first because it's a labor of love. That's why we got into this. And it's why, Rich is definitely on board. Like, look at all the beautiful vehicles that you've restored over the years, right? So the goal is to be able to retrofit. I see a lot of fleets enjoying that. Just think of all the work trucks out there that, they have a very expensive body in the back, and we can just kind of do all that work for them or show them how to do it. And some of these fleets have like 700 trucks. I'm not kidding. Like, it's enormous service truck fleets. So, it's going to be that. But an old truck that needs a bit of elbow grease to get back on the road, that's completely up to you. And I hope you do it.
But old is also subjective, because if I ask my daughter if I'm old, she says, "Dad, you're old." If I ask my dad if I'm old, he says, "No, you're young." Yeah. So if you remember, somebody donated a 2017 GMC 2500. To him, that was an old truck in his fleet. And he donated that a year ago already. He uses his trucks nonstop to drive all over North America to service these trash compactors behind box stores. So he called us up and said, "Look, I've got 350,000 miles on my 5-year-old truck." He goes, "But it's not reliable enough for me to send my guy from Arkansas to Alaska." So he goes, either the engine's going to go, the transmission's going to go, or the axles are going to go. And if I fix any one of them, the next thing is going to break on the next trip. And I cannot have my guy in a hotel for 2 weeks while we figure out how to get him home. But he needs his tools and his parts to get to this trash compactor. So he goes, if you are able to give all my trucks a second life, and the truck is beautiful, no rust, the driver's seat cushion is wore out, and I think the service body was put on from another vehicle. It's rustier than the rest of the truck. But he says, if I can take my trucks, put 300,000 miles on them with the stock configuration, then send you my nice, clean, rust-free truck, you put a new seat cushion in it, you fix some stone chips, you give the paint a polish, and you put your drivetrain in it so I can get another 200,000 miles out of it, he goes, I will convert my entire fleet. That's not an old truck in my eyes. It's the newest truck in the driveway. But to him, it was his oldest truck in his driveway. So what's old? That means that this kit might not be for everybody, but there's enough people out there that it is still a viable business opportunity.
Rich, do you think classic vehicle bodies like galvanized pickup frames will gain value with the Edison swap?
Absolutely. We're hoping that, yeah, if you put this kit into anything, it's going to significantly increase the value of your truck. With the right to repair, with you being able to fix it, with us trying to use universal parts, that if there's a better battery chemistry out there, we can still make it work. Things like that. It's not, this is the end of it, and you can't buy parts and there it sits. We hope it never comes to that. We hope that we are like, we can't think that going into this project, and that's not what we want. We want to build a reliable enough kit that is simple enough that we don't have to repair our own kits. We can get installers to do that or train you guys to do it just on YouTube videos. And we can be busy enough converting other trucks. We don't want to be a service station. That's why I want to use stock brakes, stock axles, stock suspension parts, because you can buy those parts anywhere and you're not reliant on us. We are just replacing that center section and adding some electronic components to spin that electric motor. So yeah, you're absolutely going to increase the value of what you've got. Just because of driving Topsy with a tank behind it, it was firsthand, I'm like, holy cow, I cannot believe that this truck is pulling this so seamlessly with zero stress. That I'm like, you know what, I got to be a part of this, and I hope you guys experience that at some point.
I find a lot of vehicles, especially in Canada, that are currently on the market and they're hybrid, have a very small battery pack, very small gas engine, and they work and they're very efficient, but you really don't know the lifespan of the battery. Quite frankly, a lot of these vehicles, and I've driven in some of them, don't even tell you what the kilowatt that you're consuming, which means that it's not a very scientific approach. You can't really gauge like what power you're drawing, you don't really like truly understand the power that you're drawing. So how would you possibly get a sense from the manufacturer of the lifespan of your vehicle if you're not actually like known how many amp hours you've consumed over the life of the vehicle, let alone understanding the kilowatt hours of your battery in the first place? And I mean, I don't want to get into technicals, but basically ours is truly more of an electric vehicle that has a generator with it. And therefore, it's more comparable to a purchase of, let's say, a Cybertruck or a Lightning, right? It's about saying, okay, do I want to have a truck that only has BEV, or I want a truck that has BEV with the added bonus of a generator that's hooked up to it? Edison's philosophy is you know exactly what you're getting. And videos to boot, it's more about saying, I know exactly the kilowatts, I know what's going on. I want people to be very comfortable with batteries, right? Like, you have to be comfortable with it, because if you're not comfortable with it, you're never going to buy it. So that's my approach there.
Eric, can I use my original engine for an Edison retrofit?
Yeah, so trying to use your existing engine for our conversion kit is a really good idea. Obviously, we really support the 2.8, like I was saying, but yeah, it'd be a good exercise. We actually are working with Blaine Lafferty down at Bohr Diesel. He's down in the States. Just an awesome team that he has down there. Kind of a great guy for all things tuning, and that's what he's trying to do, is tune his existing diesel engine to be compatible with our generator. So even though the engine is oversized, right, it's not the most efficient choice, it is an economical one, right, because he doesn't have to buy another engine and put it in. So there is a case for trying that out. I'm really excited to kind of see that as compared to the 2.8, and we could test from there, right?
And then it's adapter plates to mount an SA3 generator to a generic PowerStroke Cummins or Duramax bell housing. Correct. So we can't just put any generator on there. It has to be sealed because we can't have any dirt and road grime, salt, rain get in there. Yep. So it's a sealed unit with liquid cooling rather than air cooling. but we would have to make those too. But we would be able to come up with adapter kits at that point.
Rich, could dual electric steer axles work for pickup kits like the GMC Quadra Steer or Cybertruck?
Yeah, so the Cybertruck is all electric steering, right, with no physical connection between the steering wheel and the
It's
steering.
called drive-by-wire.
Yeah, because of the complexity and safety involved in not having a physical connection between the steering wheel and the rear axle steering, we're not focusing on that at all right now. That's not to say that those systems aren't already out there. There are companies working on that, and the Cybertruck's got rear steering and whatever. The Silverado's got it too. The Hummer, I think's got it. You can incorporate any of those systems into our truck. We don't have the capacity to be able to focus on that right now. Let's get these kits built and going down the road before we overcomplicate things.
Eric, will you detune the E-axles to prevent snapping axle shafts?
Short answer is yes, but detuning is not the right word. I would just say we be responsible in how we program our motors, or throttle mapping is actually the technical term for it. So it's all about making sure that we have like a pretty gradual ramp. Even though the ramp could last a few split seconds, it allows that torque to be distributed or sent out to the shaft without it damaging anything. Because if you just decide to like let the motor go full tilt, it'll like destroy the teeth.
Like the
it'll
differential in my race car when you pop the clutch. It's just like, so we are 100% positive that people will break into our system and hack it and build drag cars and pull trucks and 100% go at it and have fun, avoiding all that warranty.
I'm washing my hands.
We're washing our hands, but there are going to be some pretty impressive tractor pulls.
There's going to be a lot of pings. But that being said, yeah, we'll be responsible, but you know, it's your vehicle. So at the end of the day, if you want to, go balls to the wall and produce as much torque as you need to, there will be parameters built in, just kind of out of the scope of recommendations, right?
Rich, can builders get electric axles in advance for custom builds, then bring the truck to you for the electrical install?
Yeah. I don't see why not. I think at the end of the day, we would get the truck back and finish it off. That being said, we're not going to be every single installer. We're training installers that are going to be closer to you. So I think that would be something to talk to your local installer. I think that if it was my shop, I would allow that. Just do a good job, and I won't let it go until I'm satisfied that it's safe and done right.
Yeah, good call there. There's going to be a lot of education behind these builds, but the more material you have in your hands, the more fun you have, the better it's going to be, right?
Eric, will you add off-road controls like acceleration limiting?
Yeah, so very similar to the last question where it comes to being able to program your vehicle's throttle mapping or performance, that would definitely be one of those things. It's actually very similar. Acceleration kind of is a little bit part of the equation for torque, right? It's all about, their power is basically torque times speed. So in that case, you're essentially limiting either the torque, you're limiting your power or your RPMs. And yeah, in terms of acceleration, we could do some really cool things. We can, limit that. We can also, create kind of a ramp function. So, if you're at a point where the vehicle is just looking for traction and that's its feedback, it'll essentially look for the best type of acceleration to ensure that you do meet traction. It could even have slippage. If you're on ice, it could even sense that you're on ice, right? And sort of articulate or oscillate the tires. So there's a really cool things you can do in terms of like rock crawling or having a drift contest, right? Like there's a bunch of cool things you can do with electric axles. Mm-hmm. So options are really limitless.
Yeah.
And I really do hope that we together build a great platform where people can educate themselves on how to program their vehicles and have fun with it. Because like I'm saying, it's limitless. We've had months of fun hopping in the truck and seeing how different performance feels. I want every single owner of an Edison kit to be able to do that because it's wicked.
So some things I asked the engineers too, which they never thought about, is when we get a dual motor, that would mean that each tire would have their individual power supply and their regen as well. So with the wheel speed sensors, we can say, okay, you're going, say, 4 kilometers an hour, 2 miles an hour in a parking lot. You need to make a sharp corner. we can put the inside tires on regen and the outside get all the power. That way you can skip around, like you can, same as putting your brakes on your tractor, when you disconnect your brake pedal and put one brake on and spin that tractor around at the end of a feed row. We do the same thing with the pickup truck. Our pickup trucks are big, we're in tight spaces, we want to parallel park. Let's just slow one side down, speed the other side up, and spin around on the corner, right? And the engineer's like, oh, geez, Rich. It's like you guys think about it now, because I'm going to ask you to do this, and this is how I want the trucks built, right? Just simple things like that. When you're driving a big truck, it's parking lots and cities are a pain. We can help you do this stuff. It's all in the program.
Rich, would an Edison conversion for a Class A RV be classified under pickups or heavy trucks?
I don't know. I think that depends state to state and province to province. And like, if it's already licensed and on the road, I think you just send us your truck and we'll convert it, and then you just drive it out of there.
Yeah, it's really that simple.
Yeah, like RVs are like the loosest registrations in the world. Just like, as long as it has a toilet, it's like you can do whatever you want. Call it whatever you want.
Eric, will you be doing an Edison retrofit semi later on?
Yeah, I mean, that's how we all got started with this project. It was to convert our semi-truck from 1962. We had tons of fun doing it. Obviously, a lot of our customers had recommended highly that we design our own. And quite frankly, too, we didn't want to make sure our competitors could compete. Like, we wanted to build something that we could protect, make our own. Heck, we didn't want to show up at a show and then people confuse a Kenworth of being a Kenworth product.
Right.
So after truly experiencing that, it was like, let's just design our own so we make our own brand. But that being said, we'd love to convert semi-trucks. And the exercise behind doing these new trucks, it allows us to get an even better kit made. And I think that's going to be a gradual step. It won't happen in the next couple of years, I think, because we'll try to really refine and get to production or semis. But, you know, we'll have the foundation to build a really nice package. And that's definitely Chase's passion project. I can promise you that. I'll help him get there.
I don't think he needs your help because he's already turning his pickup truck
into a semi.
Oh, he loves doing that. It's a pickup. It's just you need a class 1 to drive it though. It's like, thanks, buddy. Yeah, great.
It's a tow rating on that, 80,000 pounds.
Yeah. It's the most powerful, heavyweight pickup in the world.
Biggest semi with the smallest cab in existence. Yeah.
But no, he's a visionary. He wants to see a very powerful pickup being made, and it's being built in a tent.
Rich, have you looked into bypassing the OBD? Will it be an issue for trucks from the last 10 to 15 years doing a kit swap?
So that's what the 2017 is for. I can't answer that one right now. So we had that one donated, and that one it's a nice truck, 4x4, cruise control, the heated seats, all of that stuff. And this thing is getting worked on the first 6 months with the Land Cruiser. And then we are doing emission testing on that 2017 right now to see exactly what emissions are coming out of a used, worn out 6.6. And then we are putting a 3.8 in that one, just something different than 2.8 in case the 2.8 is too small. So we're going to put a 3.8 with a full emission system on that one. And then we will have some smart engineers, hire some smart people that are able to incorporate that entire diagnostic systems from the truck into our hybrid conversion. So luckily there's companies out there already like D-Stroked and diesel conversion specialists that have had a lot of expertise on the Fords. So pulling out those 6.4s and the 6.0s and converting them to Cummins, and they've already ran into that. So there's already a stepping stone there that the smart people that have already done that. And so we will definitely work with the Fords as well. It's just that truck we have here will be expanding and definitely making that all work. And I'm sure it's possible at some point. Otherwise, we copy the whole OBD and rewrite it into our program and do that. Whatever it takes, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and this comes back to like our main customer, right? It's either going to be someone who it's a labor of love, they want to do an older vehicle, or if it's a fleet truck, there's going to be multiple of the same trucks. So it's an investment to ensure that we understand that truck inside and out. Talking about the OBD stuff too, so our systems will be coded in J1939, which is a really nice, easy protocol for a lot of people to get on with. And I think, to be able to like kind of have a compatible system or an adaptation system that communicates beautifully with the J1939 is a product that exists.
Yes.
So I think it will be quite seamless. Yeah. It's just about making sure that we use this project, the 2017.
Quite seamless for us. There's going to be some engineers that are going to be pulling their hair out and they're not going to sleep for weeks, but it's pretty seamless for us.
I tip my hat in advance. Yeah.
Eric, will the semi-truck axles be available as a retrofit kit for F600 plus pickups, for example? Do we need more batteries, bigger generator, etc.?
Well, I'd say, the international project that we're building will prove this, right? Our goal right now is to build a very, very large pickup truck, right? That so happens to have the semi-truck axles on it with the air ride and everything. What it'll be interesting about that truck is we decided to put 4 batteries in it. So that was just kind of an insurance policy, but we would like to see it with 2 as well. And we can modulate that. We can sort of simulate that. But the engine is the same as the one behind us. So it'll be great to see if it is viable with a single axle semi axle can actually work just with the one engine, which is a relatively small engine, considering you typically have a pretty large engine in one of these big semis. Even if it's a single axle, they're still typically enormous.
Right, so the Fargo is getting a 7.6 liter,
exactly.
and we're going down to 2.8.
Yeah.
And even if you went 3.8,
you're
still almost half.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Yeah.
I think it'll work great because, these trucks, good examples of bucket truck, right? Like, sure, it's going out and doing a job. It's going there pretty slow. Sometimes it's going on the highway. But to do its job all day long, you're using a much smaller engine to do the work. And I think that's where the economics lie.
Yeah, and it's not even that. It's that truck has to idle all day to move the bucket once an hour.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Now it's nice and quiet. Imagine being up in the air with no noise, hearing birds chirping, and you move your bucket every time you need to, just on your battery, and that truck likely wouldn't have to fire up even once that day. Maybe to get you back home again, but that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so good question there for sure. It seems unrealistic, but it's pretty surprising with that big battery there. Even if it's just 2 batteries, it's still quite large. I think it'll do the job with the semi-truck axle. And that semi-truck axle is a lot of power. We're actually working on an even more powerful version, which is pretty exciting. Hopefully I'll have more information soon on that.
Rich, would you test propane or hydrogen on the kit for better fuel economy?
Yes, but that's Future Rich's problem. We just got to get these kits going down the road. We know diesel. We understand diesel. This engine's been out in overseas for 10 years already. It's been tried and tested, and there's millions of these engines out there. It's relatively new to the North American market, but in Asia, they've been using this for 10 years, a decade. They're everywhere. Every truck we popped had so we don't have to worry about engine. So yes, after we get the kits working, we prove the rest of it. We have money coming in. We will definitely explore that. Not right now. That's down the road.
Eric, will the U.S. proposed tariffs affect Edison Motors, given most of your suppliers are from China?
Yeah, I'd say electrical parts are from China, right? So I want to emphasize still a lot of North American parts in this truck, like a majority. I'd say the electrical components, the ones that are more specialized and more nuanced, which are technically not made in North America. That's why we went to China in the first place. The tariff problem, I don't see it being huge for us. We're a Canadian company. We're importing parts, automotive parts. We're not importing full vehicles. And in me, the tariff legislation really is geared towards not importing fully made vehicles, fully assembled vehicles. What we're doing at Edison is we're purchasing some automotive components from Asia. We're also getting a whole whack load from North America. And I think that's what makes it fair, and therefore we should be able to operate for years within this new tariff regime. But if they do change, though, it's quite flexible, right? There are a lot of battery suppliers in North America which are up and coming, so that would be a great option for us. We've called them. They have not picked up the phone. So if you are a battery supplier in North America, please call me. Like, our website is pretty open and easy to get a hand of. It's amazing how many people have not reached back out, especially those in British Columbia. So, you know, Ontario too is starting to get battery plants. But I'm just saying, you know, like, that's a major component. And then for axles and motors, we can always get them sourced from Europe and North America. But the Asian ones, what I like about them is that they're very robust. They're used everywhere in Asia. I'm just very impressed by them. And it's because they prioritize electric propulsion for a lot of vehicles, most notably trains. High-speed rail is where we're taking a lot of our inspiration from. And because that industry there in Asia is so far ahead of ours, they've developed some of the most advanced motor technology in the world. So we just want to really latch on to the greatest engines in the world. They're not made here, okay? Like, they're made where the best high-speed rail trains are in the world, and that's in China. And this is why we ended up working with this company in Asia, and it's been a great experience with them. And they just keep upping the ante every year. So hopefully that gives a bit of context.
All right, the RamRecharger. Is the Ram getting portals, final drives? What's the ratio? What's the torque at the wheels going to be?
So no portals and no final drives on this one. This has a gear reduction in the electric motor. To put it in perspective, this one is 15,000 RPM.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, I think the final speed will be roughly about 110 kilometers an hour, which I don't know what the miles is, but that's depending also on the wheel size too.
Right. But that is, these axles are dual motor. Instead of using a gear reduction hanging off of the motor and then going down, spinning the axles, we've got our motors in the axle itself with a planetary gear system using the reduction. So now we've got multiple gears spinning around. 5,200 Newton meters each, so 10,400 Newton meters, and you can do the the multiplication as to how many foot-pounds that is, but there's not going to be an axle that is able to hold that amount of torque, and I am like super stoked about that.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the secret of planetaries, right?
Yeah.
It really does it well. And because of no gearing required on a transmission system, there's no transmission control. It's just like seamless, you know, it's just easy to operate, right?
That being said, it's going to cost us about $1 million to get that prototyping done. So that's no laughing matter. We gave them the sizes of how big to make this thing and fit as much as you can into that. I can't believe those are the numbers. Like, we could go smaller if we wanted, but it still fits in the size that I think I can work with.
Yeah.
So
we'll keep chipping away at it.
There is investing opportunities in Edison. First priorities are obviously to get the shop up in Golden, start building the semis. That is Eric and Chase's first start. And that is going to be number one. That is where all the designing stuff is going. That'll trickle down over to a shop here in Ontario. And then it is paying for the prototyping for that dual motor. So once we hit, like, we have a lot of money to raise, so you can go to edisonmotors.ca and you can check out the portal there and what's involved in the investing. But we will get there. We just don't know exactly when.
What will be the vehicle top speed, and what is the 0 to 100 kilometer an hour time?
We will tell you in June.
Yeah, it's kind of TBD right now. It's actually why even like the dual motor system is sort of taking its time, because we want to see how this performs.
Yes, yeah.
And we can go back and say, well, we actually want this size motor because we have a feeling that it could be downsized potentially, or it may need upsizing.
Right.
So,
and
yeah.
And it's fine for an engineer to tell you this is what it's going to do. I'm like, yeah, let me drive it, and I will tell you what it does, not what it's going to do. It's talk is cheap, so that's why we got to build this truck, get it down the road, and see what it does.
Yeah.
So what are the efficiency goals?
As much as possible within reason. That's the simple answer. I'm hoping that it's above 30%. 30% fuel efficiency, that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? So 30% less fuel burn. I think that number is magic, right? Because it's just like any great investment in life. You know, if it's above 30%, it's like a 3-year payback, right? That's kind of the mentality. That being said, even if it's above 20, I'm going to be really happy, because, we're just really going to get that from regenerative braking as well as just no drive lines, right? So a lot more efficiency on the powertrain. If you do plug your vehicle in at night before you use it, there is a high probability that you might not even need to charge it that day. Like you might not even need to use the engine in this case, but it's no guarantee, right? It's all about how you use the vehicle. So yeah, it's, the ideal number is 30% minimum savings, right? That's kind of the goal.
We will tell you after all of the dyno testing.
What's the estimated full kit weight versus stock truck weight? How much are we adding?
Well, I want to make sure that it's sort of apples to apples in terms of weight. I think it will be slightly heavier just because we're using 2 battery packs of 60 kilowatt hours. This is no laughing matter. This is a big battery. Most traditional hybrids kind of operate at like 10 to 30 kilowatt hours tops. We're pretty big battery in this. But that being said, we're reducing the size of the engine by quite a bit, by about half the size. Yeah. So I think taking away that engine weight does offset that. I think overall, you'll still see a lot of efficiency, and ideally you'll be able to tow because the axles can do the weight. So maybe you're still going to get great efficiency even though your batteries are going to weigh slightly more than your traditional truck. Right.
Edison retro kit towing a large car hauler. Would extra batteries in the trailer help?
Oh, good question. Yeah, the notion of putting batteries on a trailer that connects to your vehicle is a great idea because then you have access to more battery. You're using less fuel technically for like the first few kilometers, right? So like 300, 400 kilometers, a few hundred miles, you're using less fuel, but ultimately that's still more weight that you're adding. And I'm a guy who just believes that like you want to maximize your payload. As from the semi-truck world I'm coming from, right? Yeah. So to me, building within the vehicle that is, its job is propulsion, you put everything in there and you make the trailer as efficient as possible, as light as possible to do the work. But it's something that we could explore, but it has to be under demand. And people are even saying that they want to put a powered axle in the trailer for more complicated jobs like logging and such. I think that's brilliant. And I think we will be exploring that. It just all depends on what that trailer manufacturer or that ultimate customer wants.
Is the R28 swap worth it in the Ram 2500 without the electric axles?
Nah, it was comparable to the 5.9 gas, which was very melodramatic. Like it was okay, it sounded good, and the efficiency wasn't a whole lot better because it was working pretty hard and the gearing was wrong in the stock drive line. So we could tell when we were shifting that we were really had to rev the piss out of it because when we grabbed the next gear, it would lug and be out of that efficiency range, right? Which is just because some dummy put big giant tires on it too. But look how awesome they look. So I wouldn't go to the work for the 2.8. I'd throw a 12 valve in it just for cost and whatever else. If you want a diesel Ram, just buy a diesel Ram.
Does it need a high-performance transmission crossmember? This is someone who has an aftermarket solution.
I have read your messages, and I appreciate you reaching out. It's just that we don't have a transmission. So we need crossmembers, just not ones that are generic to the truck. So we're basically taking the crossmember out and replacing it with our own that now holds the battery. So that battery crossmember that's supporting the battery will now act as the crossmember for the frame rails. So I don't know what that even looks like yet because I don't have my battery. So unfortunately, I don't think that is going to work for our application. But that's not to say if you want to be the main supplier for our cross members that you can pump out and ship to us, that could be a possibility. It just won't look like what it looks like in your shop right now.
Please take off the 4th gen bumper. It doesn't fit.
Okay, so it's like
he's taking it personally.
It's like putting a cake in the oven. Putting a cake in the oven that takes an hour to bake, and after a half hour you're saying, well, it's not done, that tastes like shit, throw it away. It's like, I'm not done. It doesn't make any sense. It's like,
So emotional.
no, I don't understand. It's like, your project's not done. I don't like it. It's like, I know it's not done. So what we're doing is building a whole new grill for Edison. It's going to have a nice Edison in there. It's going to come down, meet the bumper. There's a little spot in the corner underneath the headlights that doesn't line up. And you OCD guys, we will have a solution for that. Don't worry about it. I don't know exactly what that is, whether we're just going to curl the bumper up to fill that space or put a light in there or just chrome it or whatever we got to do. It's not done. Wait until the cake is ready. I open the door, and then once you taste it, when I give it to you saying this is my finished cake, you can tell me whether it tastes like crap or not. But don't diss it until it's done. It's not done.
Why is the Lund cab visor gone from the Ram?
Well, we want the vehicle to go far on a single charge. So you guys have no idea how much wind that catches and just slows the vehicle down. It's like, I can't have that on there because...
beauty is sacrifice.
yeah. It looks cool. It was a great, like, when fuel was cheap, that's fine. But if you're like Elon went so far as to shave his door handles off to reduce drag, we've got a giant visor just scooping up all that air. It doesn't make any sense. So unfortunately, it had to go. We do want to have some sort of like improvement in numbers saying that our efficiency is better. Now, when we dynoed the truck, the wind resistance obviously wasn't a factor, so the visor was on there the first time around. We're in a closed building, it doesn't matter. If you drive around with a roof rack on top of your car that's empty, or you have one of those closed carriers on, you drive around with that all the time, that is creating so much wind drag. It is costing you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in fuel over the course of the year or the course of the vehicle. You see the landscaping trucks, when they drive with all their shovels behind the cab and the broom sideways, try and hold a broom going yourself, going down the highway at 70 miles an hour, and see how difficult it is to hold that broom up. That is all wind drag. Like if you laid those flat in your box or stuck them on the side where there's no wind drag, over the course of your vehicle, you would save thousands of dollars. So we had to take that visor off just because we want to show some improved efficiency, and we got to make it a little bit more aerodynamic. It's like the Ram is a good truck for that already. Like the way the hood scoops in, the air kind of goes around the vehicle. It's a very aerodynamic truck for that era. The 90s Chevys and Fords were all box, just giant bricks going down the road. So we did pick that truck for a reason, but yeah, the visor's no good. All right, so it's the next day, and we're doing the last little segment, which is just rapid fire questions that you guys just did in general, like how much milk I drink and where we're going to be this year. So we got Andy now. If you guys don't know, Andy has been with the channel since the very beginning, actually 5,000 subs. We did a demolition derby, and then he saw the video because he sponsored a couple cars in the derby, and he called us the next day and he goes, whatever you guys are doing, I want to be a part of it. And that was back when you ran the yard. So every LS engine that we've ever rebuilt has come from his yard. The Audi came from his yard, all pro bono, just like, I don't even care about whatever, just take my stuff and do cool stuff with it. It's cool to be a part of it. So it was nice to take Andy on this year and make him an official part of the channel. So Andy does a lot of the behind the scenes, does a lot of our negotiating with contracts and talking to sponsors and writing emails, and does the event planning and stuff like that. So that's a lot less for Aaron to do and me to do. So I can work, Aaron can edit, and then you do all the stuff that I don't want to do. So.
I try to say it's I dot the I's and cross the T's.
Yeah.
And someone else asked me, they're like, so what is it that you do? And I said, I'm kind of like the gravy. I'm like, I can kind of flow over to the roast beef a little bit, help out the roast beef, and I can also go over to the potatoes if I need to. I'm not just a standalone meal, but I like to help out wherever Rich needs help, if he needs help in the shop or whatever fun thing we got to go do. And then I like going in with Aaron too into his beat laboratory where all the magic happens. So wherever I can help out, and then all the behind the scenes stuff.
You ever think you'd be paid to go on a safari?
I don't even think that was in like a dream or anything. But I did get to talk to about it with a lot of relatives over the holidays here.
Oh, right,
so
yeah.
they're all like, okay, so you went to okay, so you go to Africa? Like, yeah, I went to South Africa. So it was neat getting to tell them over the Christmas holidays about what we're up to and what we do.
It's my job now.
yeah. So you're an influencer, and I'm like, oh, kind of. I'm an influencer's helper. Yeah.
Your first trip was with us down to Florida racing the Audi. That you paid for that trip yourself just to come join us and rip around with Ferretti. And then we did the adventure drives, which was a riot too.
Yeah.
Absolutely hanging out with a bunch of like
We're out of our element.
millionaires and billionaires.
But we fit in. I fit. Well, I mean, we didn't. We were there.
They definitely knew us by the end, but yeah, we've gone on a bunch of trips already together. So yeah, that's been it's been a pile of fun.
Yeah, we have been on a lot of trips.
Yeah.
Really, yeah. I don't think I've traveled with anybody more than
That's
you
what
in
Brad
the
said.
yeah, and he's only been on 2 vacations in the last 10 years. 15. Yeah.
All right. So when's our next event?
Next event, we got something coming up. I think we're going to be at Mopar Fest. That's in New Hamburg, coming up in the end of August, I believe. All the Dodge guys. It's quite the event. A lot of numbers matching.
And we specialize in that. So we're bringing a numbers matching 95 Dodge Ram, and then the Fargo will be there as well. So and then the K car.
Yeah, so. K car. It's funny. It's
K car is number matching.
K car is numbers matching. Yeah.
So it is. It's pretty not comical, but I guess in a way comical. But the number of people that ask about the K car and want to see the K car wagon and like, man, that thing is in such nice condition. Did you drive the K car wagon? But yeah, so that'll be a blast.
It will probably be the first public event for the Ram. So definitely put it on your calendars. We'll be there all weekend talking about it, doing questions on the panel, picking our favorite cars there.
I just think that's going to be a Dodge, like basically a Mopar. It's a Mopar base. That's
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's broken into the Mopar scene.
Yeah.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah. Took a while.
Yeah. If there's any events or anything that you think that we might be good fit for, shoot me an email, and I'll get back to you.
Will you be doing viewer rides and Tim runs? How do I apply for that?
Okay, so you go to our website and you have to submit the ride. And the reason we do that is we need your information and we need it cataloged. We also need to know where you live because if you're in our area and you want to make the drive down, that's fine. We're happy to do that pretty well whenever. But when we're on the road, we check our map and see who's in the area and we go through the list and say, do we have time to go see this? And that's when we will give you a call. So go to our website. There's a submission form for your project car and you can put all your information in there and then it's exactly where we need it to be when we search for it.
Will you bring the Shermanator to the Tank Museum?
Yeah, so the plan was to take it the last 2 years, and we were very close last year, except it was the weekend before we had to leave for Africa, and we did not have enough time. We will bring the tank there. That will be one of our first places to take it anywhere, but schedule allowing, so depends where we are with the Ram project. I tell them I try very hard every year. You're on my list, but if something comes up that has to take priority, then we have to do that as a business standpoint. So.
And if you do want to see the list of events, go to our website, debossgarage.com. We'll update the list of events that we got going on. Other than that, just keep up to date on Instagram when we're on our road trips.
Kind of on a live thing, yeah. So Instagram is the most current way. We hate seeing it afterwards, like, oh, I didn't know you were in my town. It's like, and we just happen to be on your feed. But if you know that we're going to go on a road trip and we're going to be in your area, definitely keep an eye on Instagram. Because like, hey, we're going to this place for lunch. If you guys want to join us, come join us. We're going to have a beer at this pub at night. Come see us. But we're in and out. We usually have like 2 hours to spare, and then we keep moving. So.
We do love it. It is a lot of fun.
Will you do a collaboration with Welker Farms or Vice Grip Garage or go to the Freedom Factory?
I think we honestly have done more than 20, I would say somewhere between 20 and 30 collaborations with different YouTube channels, bigger and smaller than us, over our full 10 years. And I'm happy for that. I'm really proud of that. Got along and made a lot of friends. But we are kind of out of that Tennessee, Florida area where we've got invites and it's like, can you be here in 2 days? It's like, no, I can't. Like I got so that's the only issue. We're kind of the odd people out because we're from Canada, but we will absolutely do that. So Welker Farms called us out and said I need to go there, and I absolutely do. It depends on when I get my parts, but maybe we should just go down there and just wrench for a couple days, maybe over the weekend. I don't know. So many things to do.
Please do something epic for when you reach 1 million subscribers.
Ooh, yeah.
That's
I agree.
That's your thing.
I'll event plan.
Yeah. You do something.
Yeah. Okay. Deal.
Get
Whoever
us
said that, deal.
Get us to 1 million and tell your friends we're getting close. So just get those subscriber numbers up, and we'll be there before you know it.
10 years ago, did you think you'd be where you are today?
No, and that's the great thing, because I don't know where I'm going to be next week. so it's kind of where the wind blows me, or where God wants me to go, and then that's the cool part, because I just don't say no. I really have no expectations. I did not think that I would be in a high-rise in Shanghai giving presentations to a group full of engineers this year. There's other meetings that I can't even talk about. Absolutely crazy. And the cool thing is, it's like where we're going to be next year, or 3 years from now, or 5 years from now. Bigger shop, more employees. So that's all. It just, wherever the wind takes me, that's where we'll go. I'm just enjoying every minute of it, and not planning too much. Just, it'll take care of itself.
And I mean, none of this has really surprised me. to be honest, like some people say, how do you do it, and how do you, like, all that kind of stuff. I think just having the motivation and not being afraid to get involved in whatever you think is cool, and so I'm not surprised to see where you guys are at.
What's the biggest threat to automotive community that nobody is considering?
There's a lot of threats. Fuel sources, too many fuel sources.
No, it's not going away. It's just scare tactics. The whole world runs on diesel, and there's no way we can get rid of it. It's all just yuppies talking that don't know what they're talking about. In reality, it's like California is the leader in the EPA and setting the precedent. They banned gasoline-powered generators. So just wrap your head around that. It's not like somebody voluntarily uses a gas engine to power their electrical equipment when they have electricity. You only use a gas-powered generator in an emergency when you have no electricity. And they just banned the sale of those. So when all those people die in some sort of disaster, then things will level off again.
Yeah, I would say education and interest might be the two biggest threats.
Yeah, maybe.
They keep the young guys interested, keeping their hands dirty, letting them figure things out, think for themselves, rather than, like, everything is going computer, but there's got to be someone behind it.
Yeah, yes and no. So EV cars are absolutely boring and do not interest anybody. It's it's just an iPad, and you can do that on your iPad at home. What entertains you in driving? It's not the driving anymore. But we're not ever going to be all EV, the same way that we never got rid of horses. There are still avid horse enthusiasts out there that think the horses is the greatest thing that ever hit the planet. So these cars will always be around. They're always going to be diesels. There's always going to be internal combustion. They can outlaw gas, and people will still be making their own gas in their backyard, same way people make moonshine. It's not going away.
Yeah, maybe it'll even help out the industry. Yeah.
What's your favorite place traveled so far, or what do you want to see?
My heart calls out to Africa, not just Southern Africa. It's very touristy, but poorer places. Went to Burkina, and I was talking to Eric about that today. I really love Africa. I love the Philippines was amazing. I'm not one to go to touristy places and do the tourist thing and stand in line and pay $38 for a hamburger. It's like I want to go and meet the actual people and work in the back alleys and do the odd stuff that most people would think is boring or just stupid, or why would you do that? But that's me.
Yeah, sometimes you meet the best people. Those ways.
Yeah.
My favorite place, we had a great time in Africa.
So it was beautiful. I loved every minute of it.
The weather was great.
Yeah.
Food was great. The people were great.
Yeah.
A little hard to get parts, but we managed to do it.
Not really.
No, well, we made out okay, but I mean, Yeah.
This one store had everything. We just had to hit them up twice.
Yeah, we just had to make sure we're within driving distance of that store.
Yeah.
But
No, but I can say that for every place I've traveled to this year: China, Dominican, Philippines, Arizona, Utah, Edmonton, Alberta, Nova Scotia. Every single one. The people was great, and the food was great, and the experience was great. It's it's just get out there and see it.
yeah, I'd like to maybe check out a little bit of like Mexico, South America.
Yeah.
Maybe get through there.
When are you coming to Europe or Australia?
So the family and I will be going to Scotland, Ireland in July this year. 7 months from now, 6 months from now. So if you guys are in Scotland and Ireland, if you maybe have a castle that you would want us to like spend the night in with our families, hit up Andy. He can schedule that. Maybe we'll have a get together or meet and greet in Ireland somewhere or Scotland somewhere. But yeah.
Australia, hopefully one day.
And then Holland as well. Yeah, and Australia and Dubai are on the short list.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part about the Africa trip?
The paperwork, which I pawned off on Ian, Andrew, and and Aaron. So figuring out how to get them home and how to drive them legally and how to export them took as long as every minute that I wrenched on them. Probably longer, way longer.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. So the most difficult part was probably planning the trip. Once we had everything planned, everything went together really, really well. So I planned in my head how we were going to buy them, how we were going to equip ourselves, and how to do our trip in a safe way. But all the other planning around that was probably the most difficult part.
Any new projects on the DGHD channel? How's Kevin? Any big tractor projects?
Yeah, so Kevin's doing okay. Kevin had a very rough last year. And if you guys know him personally, you know why. I'm not going to get into it. But that set back a lot of the shop projects. So now it's basically just maintaining his stuff and getting the field work done. Nothing major planned. We would like to take DGHD and do more single videos on like the world's biggest engine, the world's biggest truck, whatever. Yeah, uke, payloader, what's the biggest?
Excavator.
Yeah, things like that. And doing it kind of an in-depth mechanical, just kind of synopsis of these pieces of equipment. So if you guys have any of those or work in any big mines or whatever, and your boss says it's okay, or you are the boss, send Andy an email.
Yep. Andy at DeBossGarage.com.
And we'd love to fly down and check it out, make a video on it, promote your business, and then get people interested in the trades and the cool stuff. If it's a train or a plane or whatever, we don't care if it's big and it moves. We're interested in it.
Will you complete your Chevrolet lineup by adding a 67 to 72 and a 73 to 91 square body?
Probably.
Odds are very good, yes.
Yeah, more so on the more likely than not scale. It just hasn't happened yet.
What's your go-to wiring method as far as crimping, heat shrink, solder?
Deutsch connectors, crimping, no solder. There's no solder on airplanes, so then that kind of led me to believe that there's a better way, and crimping is actually better than soldering. So argue in the comments down below. I will fight you, but
Crimp, shrink.
Crimp and then shrink tubing. Most of them are Deutsch connectors now, and I will learn a lot with the hybrid system as well. They've got their own crimps on it. I think we're using all Deutsch where we can on the low voltage wiring. So that's really encouraging. I like the Deutsch because you can put the pins in and you can pull them right back in again and shuffle them around. And we'll get into nicer labeling the wires and all that. And that's coming up in the Bronco as well. So that now has remote start, keyless entry, all that fun stuff. And I've put all the wiring harnesses together in one, but made it so that I can unclip it and remove it and test it and all that. So all of that's in my head. I don't really write anything down. It's just so the secret to that is don't disturb me, don't talk to me, don't make me leave. So it was a full week of wiring on that, and then it was perfect over the Christmas holidays. So
will you ever do an old school project? So carburetors, small blocks, 3 speeds, etc.
I'm trying to convince Aaron that now the Bronco is almost done and the C10 is almost done and the Silverado is getting very close, that we should go out and buy a 1990 Lada with 13,000 original kilometers on it. So that's like 7,000 miles, 7,000 original miles.
Yeah.
And not
That'd be
do
cool.
anything to it, just drive it. A little Lada Neva.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there, and it's cheap too. I think we should.
And the history behind it.
Do you want to call him now?
If you see this, we're interested.
Can you fit an Eaton Fuller 9-speed into a 3/4 ton pickup without cutting the floor? Is it worth it?
I don't think so. You don't need 9 speeds. It's a pain in the neck to shift that many times when it's not really needed. Will it fit? Probably not. Yeah, I have to do this. So there is a video on a gentleman who put a 6-speed Eaton in a Dodge truck, and you can check that video out. We go over that in depth, but I think he did a body lift and everything on it. So it's not easy. It's possible, but do you really want to shift that many times? It gets old fast.
Yeah, unless you're like a NFL punter or something like that.
And you're left-footed.
Yeah, you're left-footed. Then it's a really good idea. That's off-season training.
Would you ever do any videos on a bigger Cummins, like an NT 855 or L10, etc.?
Yeah, we don't see too many of them in the shop because we don't have the big rigs coming through here, but we will be doing conversions on the big trucks, and we'll have those engines in there, and we will, as soon as they come in the shop, we'll do that as well. Yeah.
Are we going to see a mini truck build at any point?
That'd be cool. The mini truck scene around our area has been pretty strong.
Okay, look at you.
I'm not saying that I need a mini truck.
Look at me. Look. Do we look like mini truck people? No.
True, but the mini truck scene around our area is pretty big.
So my first truck was an S10, and then I saw another one at a scrapyard. I'm like, oh, memories. I'm gonna sit in that driver's seat, and like, you open the door, and it smells like my S10, and then you climb in there. You're like, what the? I enjoyed this. Like, there's zero room. Yeah. About the same amount as a Defender.
All right, this or that. Straight 6 or V8?
Straight 6.
Oh, V8.
Loser.
NV 4500 or NV 5600?
4500. 5600 just splits the gear, and it's one more shift that you don't really need, unless you're towing really heavy all the time.
3126 Cat or 12-valve Cummins?
12-valve Cummins.
Best diesel truck, stock or built?
Yeah, the one you build yourself. I had a customer who hauls trailers out of Indiana back and forth to Ontario. And he had 1.7 million kilometers, which is 1 million miles on his second-gen Dodge. I think 6 transmissions with the original engine. And that's an automatic transmission. You had a manual, that truck, you treat it right, it is really, that's probably the most reliable truck that you can get.
You can't ask for much more.
No.
I mean, I would say for me, probably 06 Duramax.
Yeah, LBZ, Allison is pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Land Cruiser or Land Rover?
So Land Cruiser's more reliable. I think they're just ugly. I just don't like the look of them. I saw lots with tents on them and like outfitted, but then it's got a whole box on the back. And plain and simple, they're like 3 times the price of a Land Rover. So Land Rover, because you could buy 3 and then always work on one and drive the other 2.
Yeah. Or you got your parts one, you got your backup one, and then you got your one that you daily.
Yeah.
So
Mobile mechanic, is it better to have a cargo van or service truck?
Depends what you're really servicing, but I would think there's more money in heavy equipment, construction equipment and agriculture. So then service truck with a crane and a welder, because those people, the repairs are not as expensive as the downtime, and they will gladly pay whatever you need if you can get them going in hours or less than a day.
Idle your diesel to warm it up or drive to warm it up faster?
Idle for 3 to 5 minutes when it's really, really cold, and then start moving, because the diesel's not going to warm up much more than that. You just want to get that oil, a little temperature in the oil, get that flowing through all the proper places to lubricate it properly, and then you got to then start driving. But if it's really cold, just plug it in.
and try to record that first start.
Yeah, make money.
If you could buy any truck new today, no matter the year, which would you choose?
Like, it doesn't matter what year the truck is.
Yeah.
It starts with 0 miles on it.
So I would think 2006 crew cab now, short box, 3/4 ton or 1 ton, LBZ.
Yeah.
I think they're the best looking trucks, the most comfortable, and I think so.
Yeah, you're working on it yourself. All the kinks have been, everything that could have happened has happened.
Pre-emissions,
Yeah, pre-emissions, lots of aftermarket support for it.
Yeah.
You can build them as much as you want.
Yeah.
You could put a pile of money into one of those trucks if you wanted to. Make it pretty sweet.
Or just drive it stock.
Or drive the stock. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
As a genuine globetrotter, what vehicle is on your bucket list to own or drive?
Nothing's on my radar right now. The Land Rover, I saw that picture of it beside the lake with the tent open and the awning. And I'm like, I want that I want that experience more than I want the vehicle. As to what vehicle do I want, I'm pretty satisfied. We've got pretty well everything. That 1990 Lada.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I like those the RamRechargers that they put out in like Mexico or Brazil.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Those are pretty neat. Where it's like the 3rd gen Dodge Ram style, like a Durango.
Yeah.
But it's a RamRecharger. It's a full size
Yeah.
SUV, almost like the Tahoes and the.
Yeah. But just a slightly different shape.
Yeah, slightly different shape, and it's a Dodge.
Purchasing a first truck, old school or new school?
So purchasing a first truck, I'm going to give you advice that was really beneficial to me, and that is do not make payments on anything. Don't buy it unless you can afford it. So if it's your first truck, I would say old school. You appreciate it, you take care of it, and you value it because it is yours 100%. Because somebody who, if the bank owns it, it's not really your truck. And when you have a really bad 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 months, it doesn't matter because you just park it and you deal with it and then fire it back up again when you have money or you use it again. Nobody's gonna take it away.
That's a great opportunity to learn too.
Yeah.
Why are Chevys better than Fords?
Because you can drive them with one hand without thinking that you're gonna die. So you can like.
It's life and death.
Peg asked me, why does every Chevy guy drive with one hand? It's like, because we're not.
Yeah, they're comfortable. I like the way they look.
Yep.
I don't know. I've been a Chevy guy. Even though my dad, my grandpa, they're all Ford guys all the way through. And I don't know, started looking at the Chevy guys and going, you know what? I think you guys got something figured out here.
How are you doing, Rich? Like, really, you all good?
I am all good. Thank you for asking. A lot of people don't ask, but I am actually doing really, really good. I'm in a good spot, good friends, good. My ankle's a little sore. I'm looking at a new ankle. But other than that, everything else is very, very good. Mentally, I'm in a good spot.
If you weren't doing what you're doing, what would you be doing?
It's hard to answer because it's not really my plan. I feel God just puts me wherever I need to be. And I was doing construction and I enjoyed that. And I would do very well in construction. I was very efficient and we were able to put up buildings extremely quickly and efficiently. But it was very tough on the body. So I don't know what I'd be doing.
I'd be in politics.
Yeah, politics, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
Just because so Chase is dabbling in there too, and it's like none of us want to do it, but it's like people who don't want to be there kind of need to be in there just to put some common sense back in there again.
I think that's the best thing. If you don't want to be there, you're probably the right person for that job because you're not there for any other grandiose reasons or anything like that. So I might dabble in it eventually. Yeah. I've always been involved in
We're gonna start mayor.
Or
we're gonna jump a couple and go straight to like Ontario or Canada.
I remember when you'd say, you might as well just run for mayor. You know everyone in our town anyways.
What do you think has been the biggest impact on improving your work over the years?
Just the knowledge that you've gained, realistic timelines and realistic budgets on what's actually involved, and not saying I can do this in this amount of time and in this for this money, because that took a while to get realistic. And now that I've figured that out, I understand more about the reality of things.
My old buddy Nick, he used to say, under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
And even in your own situation here where it's yourself that you're under promising and over delivering with, that's a good good advice.
How do you balance family time with making content?
That will be the most difficult thing, because right now I work from home, and working from home means that I can slip away and time my breaks to be home with the girls. So I put my daughters on the bus every morning. I take them off the bus every afternoon, then go in the house with them, have a tea with them, talk about their day. Then I go back in the shop. I have supper with them every single night, and then I put them to bed. So that works really, really well. And my wife is home for most of that as well too. It's good at night with my wife. The thing is, with the Edison, I'm going to lose that because I'm going to stop working from here, and a lot of that is going to disappear. So that will be the biggest sacrifice. My girls are getting older. Listening to other people, they're like, well, teenage girls kind of distance themselves from their dad for a little bit. Did you feel that a little bit?
Yeah.
So we're about 13, but then they said around 18 they come back again. So I need like a 5-year window to really build a good, solid business, and I want to be able to build a business that if the girls want to be a part of that business, they can, whether that be sales, marketing, engineering, designing, welding, cleaning, fabricating, office admin, accounting, whatever. If we have the successful business that I think Edison can be, whatever they want to be, there's a spot for them to work in that business.
What's your best advice for a young tradesperson seeking independence?
Pay attention to your bosses and everybody around you. Listen and learn from what they're not teaching you, because that's like the stuff that will make you successful. And then just go on your own and figure it out. You'll be fine. Just go on your own.
Top 5 game-changing investments you've made for your YouTube career, including equipment, software, and people.
Surround yourself with good people and get rid of and weed out the people that aren't benefiting. And that's probably the biggest one. Tool-wise, I'm not even sure. You could start like tool-wise for YouTube doesn't make any sense, because like Chris Fix is very successful and he's got a tiny little box and a ratchet set, just so he stays relatable, and works out of his driveway. Very successful channel. I would never do that because I don't think that he enjoys it as much. As for tools, hoists probably, and good lighting. You aren't going to go in your shop unless you enjoy being in your shop. So heated floor is very, very big, and then as soon as it got too hot, I put an air conditioner in here. Be comfortable and you will enjoy. You can have the best tools, the best people around you. When you've got crotch rot in July, it's not fun and everybody wants to go home. If you're rolling around in the driveway in a snowbank, you also want to go home. So good shop. Be comfortable.
What is your opinion on neon underglow?
Oh, same as spoon engines, I guess.
I don't know. It's nice sometimes. It's kind of gimmicky, but I don't know. Some vehicles it looks okay on. Usually ones that have like 1995 to like 2003. That was my high school days. That's when it was proper. That was a popular upgrade.
You failed a lot of classes. You spent 8 years in high school.
Those were all my high school years.
If a doomsday hit and you could only take one truck, which would it be and why, assuming all your projects are finished?
Ooh.
Oh,
I did think about this. You know what?
F3 Kitty's pretty.
No, Yoda. Kitchen, tools, 4-wheel drive, extremely good on fuel, so you can go far. Water tank and extended fuel tank.
Maneuver. Oh, for Doomsday.
Doomsday, yeah. Like
Oh,
you gotta
yeah, okay,
go
yeah.
off road. It's like you're not driving. You can't. You need a field to turn the F-350.
Yeah. Maneuverability.
Yeah. It's got a tent. I can sleep in the bush. Like
Yeah.
100% Land Rover.
Yeah. That's a no-brainer.
Maybe both of those Land Rovers.
Yeah, I need a parts one. I'll tow Barbie just in case I need parts. You don't even need electronics to get that thing running. So you could take that. You could take out the fuel shot off again. You could push it down a hill, bump start it, and drive it. You do not need any electricity to drive that thing anywhere. Like you could throw an EMP in there and it will run and drive you away over the zombies. Very, very easy.
What is your favorite fast food restaurant when you're on the road?
None. I hate them all. I eat it. I'm like, this is poison, and it's not doing anything except telling me I'm satisfied. But there's nothing good in this, and it's revolting. That's why I enjoyed the Halifax trip so well, because that was amazing food, and Philippines and China and Africa, because all their food was amazing. Unfortunately, anywhere in the United States, you guys are poisoning yourself, and I feel bloated, gassy, and sick. And I usually fast when I get back from the States, and all I want is like an apple and a salad.
So IHOP.
Best barbecue style you've had so far?
Barbecue style? I don't know. Still, the meat in Africa.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to say Texas, but then I'm like, it's not Texas though. And then I'm like, yeah, it's Africa.
Yeah.
100%. All the meat in Africa was amazing. I can't even talk about it. You can eat as much as you want and not feel any gut rot whatsoever.
yeah, proper braai, cooking over the fire.
Yeah.
Oh man, oh, it was so good.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
Why are capri shorts acceptable north of the border but frowned upon in the U.S.?
I didn't know it was frowned upon in the U.S.
I started capris. Did you know that?
I believe you.
I grew 6 inches. I grew 6 inches in 6 months, and my mom's like, "I am not buying you new pants." So I'm walking around school like this, and they're like, "Your pants are too short." I'm like, "They're a month old."
I'm just trying to show off my socks.
How many liters of milk does Rich drink in a week?
In a week?
I know on a road trip, so I make sure that there is always milk. For like if I go do the grocery shopping, that was one thing that I am not stupid enough to come back without milk and yogurt. Not like milk or yogurt. I will bring back milk and yogurt and make sure, because Rich really likes yogurt.
So I grew up on a dairy farm, and I would fill the jug of milk right to the top, and then climb the silo, spill a bunch and whatever, and whatever. Not the big one, but like the feed bin, and just sit there and watch the sunset and drink the whole jug. And that's just so if there's beer in the fridge and there's milk in the fridge, I will grab milk every single time. I'm not a big beer drinker. I enjoy beer socially, and same with a good hard drink, but I probably go through a case of beer a year. I probably go through 4 liters of 4 quarts of milk a week. Yeah,
That's reasonable.
yeah. I remember we were with Dylan McCool working on the Charger, and I bought a 1 gallon jug of milk, and he's like, "That's a lot of milk." And it was like 3 days, and it was like all gone. He's like, "I did not expect that much milk to go." This is milk actually right now.
Yeah, can I have a coffee? 40 milk.
I wish it was.
1 sugar, 40 milk. In an extra large cup, please.
All right, guys, for you guys that made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. We appreciate every single one of you guys for watching, whether it be just a week ago or 10 years ago. It's been an absolute riot up to now, and I cannot wait for the year to come. Actually, a lot of big things are going to happen, all for the better. We're going to keep building cool vehicles. There will always be diesel and gas fumes coming out of our projects, and then we're just going to expand to even more. So very excited for everything, all the contacts we've made, all the traveling that we've done. We're learning so much, and thank you guys for coming along. And yeah, we'll see you on the exact same time next year, and hopefully we'll have even more to talk about then.
Have some more stories for you.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, cheers, guys. Here we go.